What's going on, everyone? So our draft pick, Adou Thiero. Really excited to see kind of what he can bring and provide this upcoming season for the Los Angeles Lakers. If anything, right, there's a very real possibility that he's just not quite ready yet, which is fine. Right, if you have to spend a year or two kind of growing and developing him, he's just drafted, then that's understandable. But he was a guy that was looked at coming into the league, into the draft, as as high as a lottery pick in a lot of ways, but injuries and stuff kind of, we've seen that happen on several occasions where guy, little older, also dealing with an injury, drops down in the draft, which he's a guy I didn't even think the Lakers would be able to get, right? He was kind of projected in that like mid 20s to high 20s in the first round, but there were, going into last season, were some, hey, he could potentially be as high as like the 14th pick in the draft. So Lakers even said themselves that they believed he was a first round talent that they were able to get in the second round. I had to trade up to go get him, but I think he's a guy that's going to be worth it. And he was looked at as one of the ready-made kind of defensive pieces in the draft. He was looked at as one of the better, if not the best defensive kind of player, versatile defensive player in the entire draft. So Lakers right out the gate, bare minimum, he's a guy that could potentially be that defensive piece for the Lakers. Problem is, we haven't really gotten to see him. Right? He was unable to play in Summer League because of injuries, which is unfortunate, right? Obviously, it's not the end of the world. Again, that's kind of the reason the Lakers were able to get him, was because he was coming off of injury. But it would have been really nice to kind of see what he could have done in Summer League and see, like, okay, yeah, he clearly is ready, even just from a defensive side of things, right? Like, we watched Bronny James, and it was like, hey, whatever you say about him, his defense looks like it can translate. He could actually be a good defensive piece for the Lakers, in the rotation or just in a spot, if a guy gets the night off or something like that. Would have been nice to kind of see that with the Adou Thiero. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way. But according to new reports that have came out, Adou Thiero is expected to be ready for training camp. Now, there's been footage and stuff of him working out and working on his game and getting back in the gym and all that stuff, which is great. Excited to see that. But there were questions of like, okay, is he going to actually be ready for training camp and then the start of the season? Especially in like preseason, I think he'll play, pretty significant minutes in preseason. Now, obviously, I'm not expecting him to play, 30 minutes a night during the regular season for the Lakers, but can he be a guy that's just versatile out there defensively that can defend 1 through 5? He's a hyper athlete, be a slasher and cutter, even a lob threat for Luka Doncic. Offensively, we'll see. He wasn't like a lights out 3-point shooter in college, but part of that was he had a pretty significant growth spurt, as well as, his hands got bigger and stuff like that. So it's just the adjustment period. So there's a lot of belief that he will be able to be just a better 3-point shooter. And we've seen him working on his 3 this offseason. So if he can kind of, again, I'm not even saying, at least right now, obviously, eventually I want him to get to like that 38% range, somewhere in that range. But even if this year, if he could just be, 34% from 3-point range, right? Where he's just at least respectable enough to where teams have to, challenge it and factor it in and be concerned about it. And then also be able to defend multiple positions. If he can defend 1 through 5 for you, or even just like, 2 through 4 for you, right? Like that would be fantastic for the Lakers, right? Because, if you could, what would be great? Another Jared Vanderbilt. Right? Like, that's exactly what the Lakers need, a versatile defensive player. Now, obviously, you don't want, you'd like somebody a little more, not as inept offensively as Jared Vanderbilt is, right? But Adou Thiero, he is better, or at least, again, we don't know at the NBA level, so be clear about that. But what we did see in college is his ability to take guys off the dribble and create a little bit for himself, create a little bit for others. He just seems a little more versatile offensively than Jared Vanderbilt did. Now, obviously, we'll see what Jared Vanderbilt's able to do this season with the full offseason of actually reps and preparation. We've seen him be working on his 3-point shot, which, man, I mean, we've been saying this for, last few seasons now. He's like not even great, just like 34% from 3-point range. And he's like a serviceable 3-point shot away from being like a premier 3-and-D wing in this league. So hopefully he can get there. Obviously, last year he had double foot surgery, so he wasn't able to work on and develop, right? Last we saw was 2 off seasons ago where he was working on his three-point shot. He had that one preseason game where he was like 3 of 5 from 3, and then that was it. We just didn't get to see him after that because he ends up getting hurt and all that. So we'll see kind of how it works out. But Adou Thiero is a guy that has shown the ability to, again, take guys off the dribble, apply that rim pressure, obviously be the lob threat with his vertical and his size and his wingspan and all that stuff. Defensively, he's a guy that can really get after it. And if he wants to play minutes, if he wants to actually play a role, he's got to be, very intangible. He's got to be willing to do the dirty work, make the hustle plays, right? If he could come in and be that kind of guy that is, grabbing rebounds, he's a great rebounder, right? Or shown the ability to be a great rebounder. But if he can grab rebounds, if he can, defend multiple positions, dive after loose balls, be a help defender, block the occasional shot, right? Just do the things that impact the game in a multitude of ways, right? I talked about when we, drafted him and we ended up losing a Dorian Finney-Smith, that he has the potential to be kind of that versatile defensive piece of Dorian Finney-Smith and could potentially kind of help fill some of that void in losing Dorian Finney-Smith. The difference between him and Dorian Finney-Smith, because he is more athletic, he is a guy that, has that size, that length, that hyperability, and maybe even a little more offensively versatile. But he doesn't have the experience, the general impact that just doesn't come up in the box score, right? We don't know if Adou Thiero, is he going to be able to impact the game in all these minor ways that all kind of accumulate to affecting wins on the basketball court, right? A lot of what Dorian Finney-Smith didn't show up in the box score, right? A lot of what Dorian Finney-Smith provided to this Lakers team and every team he's been on is just that experience and the impact in those winning plays that you just don't see regularly, right? So, there's a reason he was our best plus minus guy every single night, and it's because of the way that he impacts the game beyond the box score. I mean, there were games where, he's like a plus 20 and he has like 3 points. It's just like, how does that? But it's because, again, it's not what he's doing in the box score, it's the impact he's having out there, his defensive versatility, all of that. So if Adou Thiero, I'm not expecting him to have the necessary impact to a Dorian Finney-Smith as far as just like understanding the game to the experience and level that he is. I'm expecting him to be able to have the impact in just doing the dirty work and just being that young energizer guy, right? What he has that, to his advantage is he can just be that energizer bunny out there, right? Use your youth to your advantage. Use your abilities to go out there and just be relentless on both sides of the basketball. Defend multiple positions, block shots, right? Hit, get a couple tip dunks, right? Like, create some dynamic opportunities. Like, put somebody on a poster, things like you're bringing that energy, you're bringing that effort. Like, be the guy that no one ever questions, right? Be the guy, like, that's the thing about Dorian Finney-Smith is you never question if he's going to show up. Right? You never question, like, even when the Lakers as a team would just like, how many times we talk about like, man, where's the effort from this team? Right? Like, it was much better last year under JJ Redick, but just in general, like, there's games there. You never question that with Dorian Finney-Smith. He always gave it. He always brought it. How is Adou Thiero, how is he going to get the opportunity out there? And it's just by, again, never, like, be undeniable, right? Make it difficult to take you off the basketball court. Right? No one's expecting him to go out there and drop 20 a night and be, crossing dudes up and doing all this fancy. Like, no one's expecting any of that. Come in, play a role, play your part, right? Don't go outside your realm, but, do the intangibles that don't show up on the box score, but show up to the coaching staff and the analytics team and all that stuff that are watching you play and are looking at this and going, man, like, dude, every time Adou Thiero's out there, Lakers are a plus 10 or whatever. Like, that's how you're going to do that. Same thing with like a Bronny James, right? Like, Bronny James himself said, like, the only way that I'm going to get minutes, because I'm not going to get the offensive opportunities out there with Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura. Like, he even said himself, I understand and I'm aware, right? Self-awareness is very important. Hopefully Adou Thiero has that self-awareness of like, hey, like Bronny said, I know my opportunity is not going to come from the offensive side of things. My opportunity is going to come from the defensive side of things and working hard and playing harder. Adou Thiero needs to follow the same suit. if he's out there and he's playing, he's working hard and playing harder, and he's out there and he's that, the gym rat, and he's out there, working and doing all this stuff, and then he ends up being able to go out there and translate that stuff to the actual NBA games and have an impact, even in a limited role. Right? Again, I'm not expecting him to play 35 minutes a night, but even if you want consistently 10 minutes a night, be the best player at doing the dirty work, at doing your job. Be the best player out there in those 10 minutes. Right? Be undeniable. Be that guy that just game in and game out, night in and night out, you are just boom, 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 just the greatest hits over and over and over and over again. That's how Adou Thiero is going to have an impact. So I'm really excited to hear kind of what's going to come out of the training camp as well as preseason. I'm excited to see kind of him out there on the basketball court actually getting opportunities in preseason, because I do believe he'll probably get some significant minutes in preseason, especially early on. I don't think LeBron and Luka and guys like that are going to play a ton of minutes. And they have games like, they have a game where like it's, which I have no idea why they did this, but just a back-to-back. It's why do you have a back-to-back at preseason? Like those games, I think Adou Thiero's probably going to play a ton of minutes in those games, right? Because those are the games that gives you opportunity. You might have the starters one game, or like say half a game and then a half the other game, right? Something like that. But I think Adou Thiero in those games is probably going to get a lot of minutes, and that'll be his kind of opportunity and moment to shine. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.